I'm gonna comment on Facebook while we're going through it if anything big comes up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do comments on Facebook.
Oh, during the meeting?
Yeah.
Before we get, so I have this in Excel, the new budget. I can provide, I know that Steve and Glenn asked for it before, so they've got it from Patty.
I did too.
You got it from Patty as well. I think what we do, we try and just work off one.
I just did that so I can make my own notes.
No, perfect. Yeah.
I didn't submit anything to you ahead of time.
I just got, like I said, I took notes on the side and made that note, so as we go through to re on mine, I don't, Jason, if you can make updates on your end.
Yeah.
Great.
that'd be-
And then, I know Glenn, you've got one with you, so I'm just making sure we
I
can change
I only
it.
made one change.
Okay.
I went through and highlighted everything, just fixed cost,
Mhm.
like that line, because it's just fixed cost.
Yeah.
And then I made one change to, multiplying item to account for Prince's cost difference, and then the amount of,
Yeah, I just want to make sure, like, our side making changes is that we will, like, there's another one. But if it's not, I've got it here, but I think that's smart, we just operate one.
For whatever order you got.
One, this one, or do you want the, it's the one that's in the agenda, it's in Excel. Well, I can send it to Excel, but.
When you go back to Excel, at least I can look at it here. Kind of follow. Look at it here.
It's in the agenda.
Okay.
Sorry.
44.
Yeah, 44.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and then at the end, I think we circulate the, yeah, I think so. Whoa.
Howdy. Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Now the party can start.
All right, you make a mention.
Our chair is just going to be on. It's not so regular meeting.
Yeah, but we'll see, I might get online and see if they are there. Everyone receives notifications, right? I would be, it would be interesting if he wasn't. Unless he's got a meeting conflict, which they might. Alright.
Recording in progress.
Bennett, Marshall, how you doing?
Good, Jason, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you. Marshall, just made you both co-hosts, so you can unmute yourself as you need. But we'll get started here. We'll start with this is the Dupree Lakes Community Development District. This is one of our additional regular meetings that we have. Date is July 29th, time is 6:03. First item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item that we have is roll call. We'll start with self-transcription purposes. It's my right, Jason Greer, GMS.
Daniel Fair, CDD, Glenn Roberts, CDD.
Janelle Wonderly, CDD.
Steve Shaw, CDD.
Alright, also on the line, Bennett Davenport with Cootat Rock, correct?
Yep, I'm here.
And then also Marshall with GMS, you're on the line. Alright, excellent, so we do have 4 board members present in that meeting. We'll start with audience comments related to agenda items. Audience comments, this is the opportunity to speak. We typically have these at 3 minutes. And then this is not a Q&A, this is more of a board to take all comments. Typically, we like to take all comments and answer them at the end. Do we have any audience comments at this time?
I have a comment. Tracy Johnson, Adina Cherokee Rose. Just a question for a couple of the budget items. Have we looked into insurance companies other than the one we're presently with that's jumping over $10,000? Have we looked into that at all? I mean, aside from events budgeting, any other companies? Or is it just standard to stay with the same company?
Judging by the look on Jason's face, we have, that was actually one of my notes on the budget.
I can speak to it.
Okay.
I just wanted to take all the comments and then at the end, if I can speak to it. So Aegis, they probably cover 90% of the industry. They know what they're doing. Anytime you need a claim, Aegis and Florida Alliance, CDDs are difficult to insure. Now we can go and shop the market, not a problem. You are right at your renewal period. I can tell you that not many districts have changed, 1 or 2 have, and that's also because Aegis has actually dropped them as a provider. They've actually gone to another, they've had to be picked up by another vendor. We can certainly do that. It's just the expertise that comes from Aegis is kind of sure we can do it, but if you've got they are the monopoly almost of the industry, it's kind of a little bit unfair. But they're the only ones. I think out of 1,100 CDDs, I think they manage over 900 of them. So they're pretty significant in their size. But certainly can, what would have to be, once we've got our renewal, I would have to obtain the loss run for the last 5 years and send that on. But until we've got our approved line of all of the assets that we want, make sure that we've got our insurance in line, then that's when I could go and shop the market. There's a Brown & Brown, there's 2 others that provide insurance locally over here. So it's not a problem, I just haven't seen it as a good cost savings, and as we all know, everyone's insurance has increased.
Yeah, no, but to Tracy's point, it's gone up 26% from last year. The year before it went up 13% and 9% the year before, so there's a significant increase. And Jason, in the marketplace, I'm seeing with our other properties, same thing. We're certainly seeing a downturn as far as insurance costs on a lot of our properties. There's a big spike, but now they're actually starting to go down a little bit. So I don't know if you guys use a broker, but I would recommend maybe use a broker at least, especially if we have the annuals coming out. If you look at shopping in the market,
it's a little bit different, but you have also had a pool renewal. You've had assets. Your insurance levels. You've asked for more insurance. Essentially, your assets have gone up. But Steve, not against it, and it's all public. You guys can see it. You just want the correct insurance. You don't want to pay for insurance until you know when there's a real issue, and that's where their expertise might come in. But I think that's a fair discussion, and I'll add it to the list and make sure. I hope to have it. I don't think we'll get it for this budget period, but if you can get something in for your September meeting, if there's a savings, and perhaps if there isn't, then there isn't. But yeah, that's a very good
Just to
point.
sidebar to that, I feel the way you guys do, I actually just put in a claim on my roof a year ago because of all the hurricanes and all the nonsense. My insurance went up almost $1,000, which encouraged me to go and look, and I just dropped it back down $1,000. So there are competitive companies out there. I respect what you say about different companies with the CDD, different animal, and I get that. but us as a community, we don't see what you see, so maybe post some of the different, not just that you're gonna look into it, but what the sidebars are, so that we can
100%.
see,
Yeah.
comparing apples to apples,
Yeah,
just
it-
what we're getting for the money that we're getting it for.
So just so the board members are aware, you have a property schedule, and it basically says the amount of assets, what are protected are X of dollars, and that's what we pay. We've got that. That property schedule will be provided to each company, so they're bidding or pricing like for like assets, and then it will be a case of what's the cost, and it will just be a flat out insurance proposal between each one. So, and I've got that on my list, and during this meeting, I'm going to be, I'm doing it right now for another district that was, again, they had a huge increase, but, you know, insurance company, look, it's just, you know, I would love to see a decrease, but I hope we see it, I hope someone tells us. But then if I do see a decrease, it's, what are we missing? Why is there such a big difference? But that's where, you know, if we have to get that vendor out here to tell us what the difference is, then by all means. But I think that that's a really, you know, that's a good valid point to bring up. So she beat you to it, and Steve.
She did, yeah, it was on the numbers.
Excellent. All right.
I'm gonna read Dupree as opposed to no. Can't do it because it's such a risk.
So that's sometimes that's of course, but you know, there's also the factor that they really know what they're talking about, and that's why. But you know, you've got risk averse, and then you've got. However, we'll see how it all. You know, hopefully they come back. We find a reduction.
What would be the turnaround for that?
So I have to obtain the logs from. Yeah, like I said, September, it's going to be your meeting. You've got your budget meeting here in 18 days to try and get a property schedule really properly evaluated before your next meeting, and for you guys to go through your budget and digest these, you know, these property schedules. I don't think it's realistic. Just if I get it beforehand, great. But I need the loss run and information from the insurance carrier now. And if one of the board members want to be on that email correspondence, you know, the email's going to be sent today, and I've got some, you know, some downtime as we talk with the doing the budget. So it's yeah. Is that fine, Glenn, or anyone else want to be on those emails?
And he sent it to me as well.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Sounds good. Any other public comment? All right. Moving into our next item that we have, part of your agenda packet, we got an update reserve study. Obviously, that's part of your agenda packet. Essentially, they've come through, they've evaluated, your last one was performed in 2020 or 21, I think it was. So now with the new pool renovations, the new roof, we've now got an updated schedule of where they think our reserve level should be. And obviously, I think the biggest or the most telling part is the pooling cash flow funding that plan. That's on page 14 of your agenda. That's basically your beginning of your reserve fund, and it's telling you where you should be with your reserve fund at these points. You know, I know that we got this in time for this meeting. Was there further discussion that we wanted to add, or do we want to go through the budget and then go back to see where we're at? I think we've got some changes to this budget, where we're hopefully, I know some costs have gone up, but there's also going to be some cost savings along the way. Any questions on the reserve?
No, I just want to point out two things. The interior renovations partial for 2026, I think they, you know, it's a wish list item. I don't see a necessity, 22,000. It's going to be a lot more. So if you strip that out, and then looking at the stormwater system partial, that showed some erosion on some of the ponds, and then it showed just one wider end section that had a crack in it. Based on my experience, I don't think there's nearly that much of repairs, maybe 10, 15 for some erosion, but that's it. So I would make those changes to it, and that drops you down to 56 required for this year, compared to 106.
From the 162, so you're taking that now for the 2025, is that correct, Steve?
2026.
2026, so that 55,000 or 56,000 goes down to, let's see,
It goes from
reserve contribution. So
105, 539 to 56, 601.
okay, right.
If you do 10,000 for the stormwater system.
Because what I want to do is go back and say, change these numbers, and they will come back that, well, that skews our reserve study. But again, this is their recommendation.
Correct.
But, you know, if we make changes to it, obviously it will be noted that reserve fund changes per the board at this meeting, whatever, which is fine. So stormwater, you want to put that down to, do we want to be 15 or do we want to be more conservative at 10? See, what do you think?
For revenue.
Okay. And then
And I removed interior renovations for the partial 2026 plan for the clubhouse.
Where'd the 23K number come from?
sorry?
Where'd the 23K number come from?
It didn't have a really good description.
It
didn't describe what it was, it had no explanation to it, that's why I removed it.
I'm assuming it'd be more painting for things like this. But
I mean, I'm sure.
Clean it.
but,
yeah,
I mean, some of the things getting dealt with was people. And, so, you know, 23, last time I painted, we painted, I think it was less than $6,000, so. Or, no, 5 years ago.
okay, so that's, I think that's very nice. That's the whole purpose of this, because look, that gives you tremendous breathing room from, like, you know, that essentially is the expense with the new landscape firm. Steve, you kind of found it already within the year, which is fabulous. That's exactly what we should be doing. Was there anything else that we want to change that we saw even in later years, Steve?
No, that's the only thing that stood out.
The immediate fines were what it was important. Okay, so we can have those changed or recirculated with those changes. And now the board have got these, if there's anything else, I think if board members want to provide the feedback to me, and if I see that there's, working with Marshall, if I see that there's good logic to it, that we can make those changes to review this reserve study again. But I don't want to, you know, there's one line item on here where I just really, I think it's on this one. You've got, you've got the irrigation replacement for the community. Let's see where that is. If we had it on this one. We've had a couple of districts that have had these going out. But,
Let's see, water features, water features.
no, it's more of a,
One last on here that was questionable when they were recommending us to do was 2029, where it's, signage. At $13,000. One of the things we had talked about, Marshall brought up, trying to edit, because, on the sign, we were trying to bring it back and everything, for cost savings, one pump, so.
So your irrigation's not there, Jason, it's under operating, they were assuming that'd be O&M cost.
That is right.
That's what we're saying, so that's good, it's not reserved.
okay. So it's what we've got part of our budget. Okay.
Which at the same time, now that Prince is here and they're in the process of doing a full inspection of all that or whatever the things that they reserve, cost, have a conversation with other guys that are about that.
There's one that they found somewhere.
It
Because all of the vendors said it's terrible.
sounds like a pretty lengthy list, first with 5
with that, if you've got any other further changes, please email those, and I want to get that turned around and provide you with new reserve study. So it just makes it a little bit easier for us to follow in the future what we've got, what we should be budgeting, essentially. The next item that we've got on this agenda is the fiscal year 2026 budget. Obviously, that's been circulated to the board members. Looking like to add these, any changes. One of the major ones that we had is obviously with, we did have, we changed landscape vendors. I did put the new proposed number in there. We did budget a higher number than what we had for fiscal year 25 because with the last vendor Carlton leaving, we're right there with the increased number. So where did I look to get that number from? I had to obviously go into more of, you weren't putting as much money into your reserves because obviously with that, we just, I had to come from somewhere, like where else are we going to pull it? And that's where, if we want to go line item by line item, typically, if it wasn't line items, I think we just go at the ones where we see savings, and then we can go from there.
Kind of what I brought up earlier, I went through and just notated the fixed cost categories. So electrical, line lighting, street lights, irrigation, water, solid waste, assessment, mitigation, monitoring, quality control, facility management, phone back internet, administering of gate electric, drinking service, property insurance, pest control, pool cleaning, and dues, license, and permits, all fixed costs. Already know what those are, they're already determined, they're already contracts, with whatever it is, so that leaves the others as optionals. The only change that I made from the last changes was using the number provided by Prince and Son at $60 a yard for mulch instead of the $80 or $85 a yard the carbon was. And then if I remember right, I think the number was 300. So that changed. We had 16.
No, I thought it was 175.
That's what Mike had said.
Okay.
We had originally.
But you had,
Mike had said that we needed 225.
Yeah.
225. So we, in theory, I would put it at 250 to give you some extra cover.
16, 250, that's what I thought. So that was $65 a yard times by 250, 16,250. Is that right?
Yeah, they estimate 350 in their contract.
Was it 350? So I had
It's
300.
250 and 100.
So,
But those are the optional services. If you don't want to take them, there are other alternatives where you have vendors that blow it in. It's not quite the same. But
And they had it $58.
was it 50 or 56? So if we say 350 at 15 days, that's 20,300. Had it in there at 16.
16.
And that was 65 times
16,250, that's what I got, 65 yards times by 250. So if any, that's it's not an increase, that's an increase of $250, so.
That's 17 for, $58, 300, 17,400.
Are you good with that, board members? 17,400, or do we want to just cap that?
We can cap it 16, and then if anything goes over that, it comes back to 18.
If we, with that mulch, if we leave that one as is, the one big line item where I think there could be some cost savings here, we've got landscape contingency of 60,000. Janelle, how would you want to hit that one?
I cut it in half, but I will say, so one of the things that I printed, I asked John to make copies of, this is something that we've talked about over several meetings, putting like wants versus needs into a spreadsheet. And so, there's landscape enhancements, some that we've gotten quotes for and some we haven't, and this will probably change a little bit because of the new landscaping company. But one of the big projects we talked about tackling next year was the boulevard wall. So I don't know how that fits in as far as budgeting, where that goes, but I think when we've talked about it before, that's pretty, and maybe we break it up, but I think that's cutting roots, that's fixing the wall in certain places, that's power washing, painting, yeah, I mean, so.
Reserve study has it $180,000.
It
Yeah.
says, has like $180,000 in 2028.
Yeah, and so maybe we tackle part of it. Yeah, tackle it in phases, but I think that's something that we need to think about. I don't know if that would be considered landscape contingency or if we just do a capital project for that, but
I would say that would be more of a capital, because you've got the one, you've got 180,000 for 2028, and then you've got 213,000 in 2050, in 2042, and 300 in 2049. Because it is, that's, if we follow this reserve study by the book, we should have the money for that when we get to 2028.
yeah.
But there are immediate needs, I think. Well, there have been what we've been told are immediate needs, right? I wouldn't say that they're anything that would be, these are an emergency thing that we need to take care of. Maybe we want to follow that reserve study to like how it is at the moment, and then address these items when we've got a bigger pool in our reserve fund, because I think there might be more potential immediate needs, but the biggest, most important thing is want to manage that reserve study, the reserve funds, because there were much needs that you needed to do, like the pool, the playground, things like that. You absolutely did need to do those. But again, if the board want to, I would, if you wanted to start looking at that, you would have to significantly raise your capital. But we've already hit the high water mark. We can't go any higher with our assessments. We need to
No, agreed.
see if we can trim some of this down.
So is the irrigation coming out of landscape contingency? Or no, we have irrigation out here.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, doubling the landscape contingency seems pretty extreme.
But you would triple it from last year.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
triple it. But I see what you're.
We cut it in half last year, and then right now, we're at 36, another, call it 11, so it's 42.
And that's after we pulled it out. But that's not saying, I mean, we completed the FDOT project, so, I mean,
There's another one that needs to happen. He almost got hit where it was. I almost got hit where we played the same spot. And it's all shit to the middle.
yeah.
And then another spot that's already actually been identified. But part of that could have just been, it wasn't being maintained the way that it should have been anyway. How far we can take it back, and technically that's an open contract, so it would be a no cost, or potentially low cost,
Yeah.
thing that's there, but instead of getting kind of in, Tennessee at 60 right now, we've already spent 40, or projected to spend 42, we get to 50. But, at the same time.
I think what we'll do, Steve, what do you think? Janelle's at 30, you're at 50, Dan?
I would say capital at 50.
Cafe at 50?
I could probably tell before, just based upon, we've got an increase in costs associated with landscape that was selected. At this point in time, between a lot that should be covered under the existing contract to this point, so I can.
45?
I would say 45.
45?
All right, but it depends on, like you said, if we can have a conversation with Frank and say, hey, some of this is due diligence work, then that might, this would be some lower cost. Well, at the same time, we're splitting here over 10 grand.
I just want to make sure,
Yeah,
we've got a lot to go
We
through.
do, and I'd like to start so we can just kind of go through line item by line item, just work our way down. We can split, rather than jumping all over the place. What I try to do is compare this budget group, I took the last average in the last 4 years that we've had actuals, and then basically kind of came up with a number. Granted, understanding some of these costs have increased, we got a contract in place, but with that being said, just starting with supervisor fees, I know we always budget 12,000. I looked at our average over the last 4 years, it's only been right around 11,000, so my recommendation is bump that down 1,000. I know it's not a lot, but again, I'm trying to recover some of the costs associated with the landscape increase.
Can we, before we go down there, up above, we have clubhouse rentals at 10,000, but this year we're already at 19. So I bumped that up to 15, and then miscellaneous income, we're at 14. And we just signed a new contract with, the pool, pool lessons, so I actually bumped that up to 10. I mean, I feel like if we're renting out our amenities, we could, I'm not sure why that number would be the same as last year. So bumping those two gives us another 10 grand.
Yeah, go ahead. So your point, though, I think the math is up there. I mean, if we're already projecting 19 through end of June, but we're.
That's actual.
Yeah, actual through June, but then we're only projecting another 1,000.
That's really
2 months.
So you guys are really utilizing the, now.
Yeah, so I think that could even be higher, but I
Could be
mean, I
higher,
don't
I
want to
just
go too
don't wanna-
crazy.
yeah, I don't wanna go too
So
crazy
that's
and
why
say
I only
we don't
bumped
have
it,
it.
that's why I only bumped it to 15, but I think 10 seems really low. And the
Yeah.
same for miscellaneous income. I assume that's from our rentals that we're utilizing.
Miscellaneous becomes more of the, like the pool people.
Right, like the lessons and the tennis courts and,
10% of that, she's paying 900 a month to rent that facility.
yeah, so I don't think it's really a stretch to bump each of those, and then that gives us an extra 10 grand in revenues.
Right. And obviously, if any, like, there are factors that could, if someone says no, then like, I don't have any facility then. But I think that's, it's achievable, we've done it this year, right? So,
And
No issue here, that's fine.
okay, so go on, Steve, if you want to go back with the supervisors.
Yeah, so supervisor would recommend bump it down by $1,000. Before we go, is everybody agreement or disagreement on that?
I think if you go all the way down, and then if there is a disagreement, then we stop, like,
We normally have 11 meetings a year that comes to that one. So last year and this year, we've had issues where we've not had one and then have to double up.
yeah,
I'll make it stressful.
Engineering, I bumped down from 7,500 to 5,000 just based upon our average has been about 5,000 over the last 4 years, and really I don't see anything. We've got the site triangles that we needed from Stantec, and they haven't been participating in workings. We don't have any kind of O&M report due by them that I'm aware of.
the only thing they do is the,
Just to be
ice
aware.
report, permit.
Swiftwood, yeah, maintenance, but
Yeah.
that's less than $50,000.
Yeah.
We're projected to spend 11,000.
This year, yeah, and a lot of that came through, remember, they hit us with some of the additional.
Yeah. I think we're still actually already over $40,000.
So 2,500, I dropped that to 5,000, Jason. No change in attorney, annual audit, no change. Assessment administration, I saw that went up 10%. That's the EMS thing. What was the increase associated with that? Why
Just
so high?
our expenses and what we do, like that's just kind of part of the increase of our services. Your meetings can go a lot longer as well. But if that needed to, that went, you say 10%, it went up from $100, $115.
I'm sorry, I read them wrong.
Hey Marshall, that's you over there. Go ahead. Yeah. But if that needs to.
No, that was 3%, sorry, you're right, it was 3%.
You're good.
assessment administration, that's what went up 10%.
That's what we were just looking at.
That's the same one. 5,7,240 to 5,8. And that's fine if that needs to stay at 5,7,250. I'm not gonna argue with you guys over $150. It's just a calculator of all of our services, and there was a multiplier with that.
That's fine. Moving down the list here, I didn't have any, one other change is the insurance general liability, that was kind of looped into the previous insurance discussion. Hopefully we can go back out to market and get a better rate on that premium. And then any other changes on the administrative side?
I have one for other current charges. Never mind.
Okay, moving down into field expenditures. One with this electric bumped up quite a bit from our, we're projected at 7,200, but it bumped up to $9,000. Is that just, we just applying inflation rate on that, Jason, why that?
Right, so you would have seen, I think TICO just came out with another rate hike recently. Now that TICO is not here, we've got Duke Energy here. But if you wanted to be conservative and lower that, I know that their billing cycles are really strange here. Like they bill, they're not fully on a 30-day, their billing cycle is more of like it's almost like a 60-day, it's really strange. But if you wanted to lower that, I can go back to fight against Paddy against it. If you wanted to lower that just by a few thousand.
I moved it to 8 because I was just seeing why.
Yeah, I moved it 3% up to 7,500, to 3% increase, but it's more with,
The monument lighting,
yes, correct.
so you want that to go to, just to confirm,
8,000.
8,000? Okay.
The streetlights projected on the 34, we got it at 142, it's 142 last year.
Maybe take it to, yeah, that's what I was thinking when we're doing it, yeah.
38, okay.
Irrigation water, I don't think we have any rain. We did bump it up 500, it looks like, and we were right at 75 in budget for last year. That was our actual $500.
Which one's that?
Irrigation water.
Yeah, I kept that, we've averaged 8,200 over the last 4 years, so I just kept it at 80. Landscape or perennial flowers was the next one. I just bumped it down to 8,200 based upon the Prince contract.
He's a lot cheaper per plant. Like ridiculous, cheaper. Yeah, he's a plant.
So I just made a change based upon what was in his contract, so.
Perennial was down to 82 from, what do we have, 15 in there?
When we built that was based on the $4 to $6 plan that Mike was charging.
Mulching, we already talked about, landscape contingency, we spoke about.
So did we keep mulching at 16, or did we change that to the 16,250? I had two numbers.
Well, it depends on what number we're using versus either 250 yards or 350 yards.
What do we want,
Was
350
it
yards?
350 what Prince had recommended?
350, recommended.
350 was what we did for the landscape RFP, everyone did it at 350. So one rotation was at 250 yards, and then that was the second one for 100.
I mean, I would lean more towards the higher just because we skimped on it so much this year that I'm afraid it's gonna look really bad if we skimp.
Well, this was just a analogy what I was thinking. Me and Marshall talked about it, and Marshall hit the nail on the head pretty well. Look, you guys have paid to get the premium landscape service in. You don't really want to, you've got all the great things coming, like obviously there are going to be savings. Perennials was one of them, you save 7,000 right off the bat there, but you don't want to just dilute it where you've got all the great things and then lose all the benefit. You want to do it. So look, if you get 250 yards in the year and you don't need to do it again, then that's a savings,
Yeah.
right? So
58 to 350 is 20,000.
So do we want to bump that to the 20,500, does that work?
That's
I'm
fine.
okay with that.
Okay.
Landscape contingency, I think we discussed that, I have 40, I think 45 was the
45?
open area conservation maintenance. This bumped up 2,500, our projected was 7,500. Looks like we haven't used any of it this year. What was the reason for the increase if we haven't used any of the actuals?
Budgeted
Well,
15.
we had it budgeted, because remember, a little while back, there was areas that we were cutting back around the ponds that were more aesthetics rather than needs.
Some of that was stuff the carbon flight was on, and charging us for it, it was out of scope when we paid them for it, and then they turned around and didn't maintain buffers that we paid for it too, so.
The Horner environmental, which is the mitigation monitoring, you do need to leave that one. That's what you have
Yeah,
your 5 to 7 visits a year. So that open area conservation, we went at 15, lowered it to 10. What do we want to get that as?
We haven't used any for this year at 7,500, so I bumped it down to 5,000, just because we haven't used it.
But if we're not going to use it at all, is it a case that we want to eliminate that item? Or do we want to just leave it there just in case we do need some of it?
And
Well, we eliminate it and take what we were gonna move, or take what was there and move part of that and then we just cover over that.
If it's not contingency, I would recommend we throw it into the reserve. That's just my suggestion for you guys, but let's just, are we good at eliminating it at this time? Or do you want it to be at 5? Steve, what do you think?
I'm fine eliminating it myself.
No good?
I didn't have any further changes in the field expenditures. What do you guys have anything?
Well, product control, I bumped by 500 just because we're at almost 12.5 this year, so I wasn't sure why we
I
would.
think that was because their contract, they had a 3% increase, that's what that is.
Okay, so, but we only budgeted 12,000 for next year. so
Right, so
I just
they-
bumped it to
they-
12.5 just to.
typically what happens, they provide you with their increase in January. So that's what happened. They didn't raise it for like a number of years. So it says that it's, I think, yeah, their increase would have come in January, but I don't think that's not a bad idea, just to raise it to the 500, so we're actually within budget of.
And then general maintenance, we're at 12.5. We budgeted 20 for next year. I didn't know if there was some outstanding thing that we were expecting, but I just took it back down to the 18 that was budgeted for last year. Wasn't sure why that was so
I
high.
think that's fair. Just put it there.
And then I didn't have any other changes in that section.
Irrigation was at almost 26, we got 24.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my concerns is that we know, especially after you have 6 different vendors look at it and they'll tell you the same thing, your irrigation looks absolutely horrendous. I'm concerned that 24 isn't gonna be enough,
I was
but,
like 30 there. I was considering
But it-
27 to 30.
yeah, I mean, it's hard because I don't think that Cardinal did a very good job of doing most of their repairs. I mean, I know you've questioned, we've all questioned some of those janky repairs they did, so, it's hard to know if they were just not doing them right and they were charging, or if that's a legitimate number, but I would be okay raising that a little bit based on what we spent this past year.
You want to do like 28?
Is that just if you had?
Yeah, I mean, I would go to 27 to 30 somewhere in there, because that would be 10% variance and then a little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah.
When Prince comes in and says, hey, here's what your system is,
Yeah,
here's what's in, if it's in need of,
That's it.
that.
No, I mean, that's one of the things, my comments with regards to the contract itself. Obviously, I wasn't here for that meeting, but irrigation is a separate additional scope, especially if there's additional repairs. ad service from, and just looking at that one invoice that we received last month, you know, for irrigation, it was like $300. I'm not opposed to raising it, because we know our irrigation system needs to be, there's some faults that need to be corrected with that, so
Okay.
I'm good with 30.
30, we good with that, Janelle? Is that okay?
All right, moving down to clubhouse. So, we increased the phone, fax, internet, was bumped up to 2,400. And we only spent 1,400 today, so I just questioning, is that based on contractual?
We
say
lowered it during the year. Brian worked on that, so I think that could be certainly lowered. It was at the 42. I know we don't have favorite channels anymore, but really used.
I would say cap it at,
1,600?
I would say cap it at 2, save that for $400.
Okay.
And that would still give us a little room, just in case they do a price increase. Sometimes, or
I think it's fixed at the number of a few years.
it's just like if we have an automatic, like 12 month or 4 month plan.
Right.
Next one's property insurance, obviously, we kind of touched upon that. You're showing, was the 42 based upon premium estimates, or is
So
that?
in your agenda packet, I think I had it there with Aegis, it actually provided it, I've included it in your agenda packet, because with insurance documents, anything like this, I like to provide them to the board members so they can actually see what the property schedule level actually is, and all the assets that are actually currently being, insured. 68 is actually the insurance schedule, but the renewal price is, so it starts on page 64. And then it's got the inland marine classification on page 69. These are the golf cart, the Kubota, the chair, the pool lift, security cameras, and what they're insured for. So that's more of the property schedule, I don't think. This-
Yeah, I didn't
this
see any
is
kind of
actual-
premium.
Yeah, I can get that. Just. But per notes, that's the insurance cost that we were providing for Aegis for this property schedule.
Okay. Just, again, it just noted that you're not.
Yeah,
take
well,
that back.
after this meeting, obviously, I've got my direction to reach out to insurance providers, and then obviously Steve, you're going to be part of that one too.
So facility maintenance, I noticed, proposed budget's 18,000 versus projected at 26. There's a big jump from what we paid to date to what's projected next 3 months. You know what's driving that, Jason?
We hired a new janitorial service, so I think that's where some of the jump is, but I don't know what her, I didn't look up what her monthly. 640, so what was that times 12? Not that bad. So 7680, I think, is the rest of that just the maintenance, like
General
things,
maintenance in this building.
which I think that was, Steve, you weren't here, but we kind of had a discussion with GMS last month or the month before, because things I think are getting done that we aren't necessarily approving, and don't necessarily feel may need done. So I think, Jason, you said you guys are gonna stop just.
Well, what it was, just so with like the item, because I know it's outstanding with Janelle, so what it was, there was, I went back to the maintenance team at GMS, the in-house maintenance program it's fabulous when it works out great, right? These are general maintenance guys that are very good at the majority of things. There's certain specialty works that they're not good at, which have also been pointed out, which are pointed. But then what was happening was we had teams, like there was a team that would come out on a Monday, and then there was something that they would probably potentially come out on a Wednesday because they couldn't get everything done in one day. But what we're trying to do is schedule it more so where if they are dispatched once, then we can do the mobilization in one transaction. Now, I did speak about with the maintenance team and said, look, if we're going to go out there, I know Marshall's on the line as well. Marshall, is there anything else that you wanted to add to that with the discussions that you've had with the team, or am I kind of going the right way with it? Or did I just completely just
I think you're going the right way. I missed the initial question. It's kind of static here on my end. Sometimes the board members say anything else, so I'm trying to listen as closely as I can. But yeah, essentially, we're trying to tighten up as much as we can by reducing the number of mobilizations, except in situations where you obviously want it done immediately, like when certain, let's say,
well, there was
items are painted on the sidewalk, and we want to get the out that same day as we can.
right.
We'll try and push as fast as we can. But if we have something like a minor painting item or something that's not an emergency, we'll compile and try and do as much as we can in a single solid day.
Right, so with that item, what did we want to lower that down to? Because we did lower it to 18, but you also have a general maintenance of 18,000 up at the top. That's general field, but you have maintenance line items here. And that could be other items that we're using for it. I know that there was for instance, there's things that we've had to fix with the pool. I think we've had to fix a pool motor, I think, or something over here. You want sorry? Right, so I think that's contributed. We were putting monies using that too. But look, you've got facility maintenance. You almost could use that item just to be janitorial services, so it's kind of broken up and segregated, kind of if you wanted to do. You've got clubhouse contingency, and you just put a little bit more into that one, and that can be used for maintenance instead, so it's just a little bit more clearer.
It was 15, it was cut to 5.
Right, so if that's something that you guys would like to do, then
So the janitorial part of it is 7,700.
correct.
Like it was last year.
It was 75, but yeah, it's close.
I think it's under clubhouse, and if you guys are charging some of the fuel maintenance associated with that through the clubhouse expenditure, I think that needs to be rolled up into the general.
Well, I think like everything that we fixed here, but there's other things that come to it. Like I think like there's been a couple of pool motors, like we've just kind of stuffed these into these items rather than. I have to look at that back up. If I had these questions before, I would have probably got them from Patty, but I don't know them. Obviously, looking at this spreadsheet, what all went to that line item, but I do know that you've had some maintenance use like this at the clubhouse, so.
So can we just make that janitorial and then up above where we got general maintenance? Bump that leaves us with 10,3, maybe bump it by 5 or 7.
I think, that would be fair if you did 5, so you add that, make that 123, the general maintenance up there, and then you lower the other one just to be janitorial, to be the 77. Are we okay with that, guys? Does that make sense?
So when janitorial stuff will be brought, so cleaners and paper towels, all that kind of stuff, where is that getting accounted for? Is that in another category? Is
Well,
it under operating
I
supplies?
think we could put it as operating supplies. I think that wouldn't be a bad idea, just to throw that into there.
So the janitorial services line would just be for day in or day and day,
Yes.
and then the operating supplies looks like it needs to be modified anyway when we get down to that.
Yes. Okay.
It's off of 18 to 8.
Yeah, I think we keep that in mind, but we'll just keep going down the list, because I think that this is good. This seems to be working. Water park maintenance, I think, needs to remain as is. We kind of spent a little bit more. Park and field maintenance, now I think that was where, you always had Cardinal would come in on a yearly basis, and they do like this arena kind of thing out there in the sport field. Do we need to do that with, allow Prince to do that, or do we want to see if they can
It
just?
didn't get done this year, so it probably will definitely be done next year.
Okay,
Well, I know the idea there was to use some of the money that we're getting from property on using the field, was to turn around and put that back in the field and not have to come out.
that's a good idea, so we leave that as is. Pest control, that's just, we've got your,
So we're projected to be at 660, we're at 6, max that.
yeah, I mean, it's within, yeah, might as well, just put it there.
Pool cleaning, that did modify.
We added that extra, chemicals for those, for the band-aid, like he's.
We agreed at 2,500 a month across the year, right? 28 through the summer.
28 through the summer months, and then it go down back
I thought
up.
we had him, we used some of it, like
There's
across the
an
year.
tag that says 2250 a month.
Yeah, that's an old note, that's from last year.
Okay.
I thought we had him agreed, so we 2,500 across the board.
That was before the summer hike increase, they wanted that extra.
No, when you negotiated with them, you asked about a flat rate across the board.
Yeah, I thought it was 2,500.
I don't remember what it was, but I do remember you saying.
If we go to the 20.
FedEx, do you have that agreement in front of you that you drew up for band-aid?
I can pull it away.
Yeah. I think I got it here.
Thought it was 2,500.
But either way, we would need to bump that to 30. Whether
Yeah,
it's,
if it's 2,500 at 12 months, whatever the full limit would be, that's okay. Maybe like 27, 27.
What do you want to put that as? You said 30,000? 30?
Yeah.
Did you guys take that back up to market, get additional quotes when you hit us with?
Jason, it looks like the amount per month contemplated in the agreement was $2,500.
Well, we did go out, and then the vendor, he came in, and then I think he wanted 31,250 or something or other to raise his rates to the new chemical.
26% is what it got.
And then the board, kind of said, you want to work here, we want to work with you, and then he lowered his fee down to the 25. We have a, it's up to you guys if that's a.
He's done a great job.
Everyone, when you went out to market, everyone was roughly the same. It was just, you had that one vendor that has been told there's no longer a business anymore.
Well, his chemical injection is what he uses. So what he uses for that.
Yeah.
I don't care, 3, 4 days, sometimes 5, yeah.
Okay.
Commitment center enhancements, we were projected to spend 45, we're at 35. Last year, the budget was 25. I don't know what we covered under that though.
I think that could be like lights and things like that, anything that you want to do in here, if you wanted to buy new televisions, something like that.
I kept
All
it
those
at
great
35.
channels that you now have.
Leave it where it is.
Yeah.
I agree. Contingency right at, projected. Special events is just over projected. Operating supply was slightly under projected.
So going back to special events, obviously trying to be aware of feedback that I've received. I did cut that a little bit, just based on participation to date in some of these events. Kind of open for discussion.
well, we got 40, 40,000 from the HOA this year. 15 from the HOA. Okay. So keeping it what it is now, we already would have to cut back significantly on events. I don't know that we need 5 and 6 events every month. And I would say 90% of them are geared towards kids, which is great. We want to get the kids involved, but,
I think that's fair, there's some other.
yeah, but nothing's come of fruition. So, yeah, that's my only hesitation of cutting is my feeling is that we will get 0 money from HOA for events. And if that happens, we've already cut the budget in half. Yeah, there won't be any,
Budget discussion, that was the
yeah.
thought process.
But I agree, I mean, we've received feedback both ways. Some people really love the events, and it's been a learning curve this year. Some of the events have not been, attended well and others have, and I think Colin's done a pretty good job of kind of tracking all of that. Yeah.
The small one.
For what you have a very active, district of events, like Chief Hammer does a fabulous job with that. Yeah, it's definitely, it's with the monies, there's definitely other districts that do a lot less. Doesn't mean you stop trying, I found that, right? She's like, I said, you just gotta keep going, but it doesn't mean that you can stop trying, because you're doing very good.
Yeah, we're always open to ideas and, implementing new initiatives, so yeah, definitely.
All right.
I don't have any further changes.
Only one that I put was pool furniture repairs and replacement, because I think according to the, study, we're due for that next year, and we've already had to start replacing pool furniture. We know we're gonna have to repair even more next year. We're waiting to do the majority until this winter, and we'll talk about that in another meeting, so. I just bumped it to 5,000, I don't know if that's even enough, but at least the last year's probably, anything with the slots are gonna need to be, this long. Yeah, so,
Pool furniture repairs, /145, what do you want that to be? Oh no, 1,000 clubhouse furniture repairs, or pool furniture, which one is it?
It's a pool.
83. The furniture repair replacement.
83?
You said, what, 5, 55?
I put it at 5, but I don't know that that's enough.
We can get us a good, and sort of start.
Yeah, maybe we don't do everything, but I think a lot of those chairs we're kind of skimming by this year, so. So you said 55.
I said 5, that would give us a little more room to, I know, the last time it was, restrapped was 2019 or 2020.
Yeah.
And the chairs haven't, tables haven't been touched since we were there in 2018.
Yeah.
So we're getting pretty rough shape, so.
Are you guys okay?
That's fine.
All right, where's that put us?
So just with that exercise there, just rough math, just looking at that, it's roughly just on budgeted line items. From what you had budgeted, you shaved $28,000. But the items are going up and down, that's what I'm seeing.
Does that include the increased revenues too?
With the increased revenues of 10,000, so it's actually right around at 38,000. Kind of, you found 10 more in revenue, but you lowered, so there's a $38,000 difference there, which is, that's significant.
And so that would be 56,000 in the reserve, 56,601 into the reserve.
Yes, because you would go from the Yeah, you're putting more. And with that savings, that 38 there, would you put that into your reserves, or is that going to be more of a savings to the district? What do you think is best to utilize that money with? Because there's two ways. You hit your high water mark, whatever savings you have, can either be for lowering assessments, or it's saving it, putting it into your reserve fund, which is, it's not the popular answer, but it's,
I would say reserves, and the only reason I say reserves is all the unpredictable fees that may come with the irrigation system out there that vendors that actually know what's help do it. I mean, if there comes to be an issue,
right.
we're not having to have a special
So
assessment.
just on a, was it 640 units there? 664. So just per unit roughly,
Yeah.
roughly, and this is just rough because you've got two different sizes, right?
465.
Yeah.
55 wide.
Right.
And 65.
So that savings would be roughly, if we did cut that 38,000, it'd be $57 a year. So that's a $4.75 a month savings at 38,000 per lot on average. So you call it $5 a month, that's what it would be saving everyone if you cut the 38 and made it back to the district. Or you can put 38,000 in the reserves. That's the our recommendation. As much as
I different opinion, I think it needs to go back to assessments. Off the assessments. We're already raising it now, I think that needs to come off. Understanding irrigation, hopefully we have enough buffer in there, but if we discover any major capital things, and then that's going to have to be on next year's capital. Or next year's budget.
Kind of like Steve, I was thinking half and half, put half towards reserve.
I think Steve said. put it all
Well,
back.
I don't know that assessment.
All coming off the assessment, not coming from reserves.
Where
Where
like
else?
it, I like that. That's what I'm thinking, we need the middle, put some stocks on that savings in the reserves and then give a little bit back to the community. And then like Steve said, if we have something major, at least we'd have that capital come next year. Put the reserve account that way. What's in there right now, plus if we didn't feed it, other than 56,000. It's there.
It's difficult to really say because we haven't put this.
Something like that, yeah.
We got the playground still.
Yeah, well, I said, playground hasn't been fully.
$45,000.
We're not chasing them to take our money, but they still haven't given us, they haven't completed a couple of things yet, so. Yeah, it's certainly less than what you're probably gonna be the variance after this year with the expenditures, probably right around 85 to 100,000.
Much of it can, you know. Really confident that we're not doing development. Two-thirds, but two-thirds reserve. Back.
The biggest kicker really is that your landscape contractor that you had before, they were operating at 194,000. But the best qualified to do this job, the 2 or 3 vendors were very closely priced. And you guys picked that one of those 3. So it's not like we're overpaying for landscaping. It's a case that you found the best qualified vendors that you kind of have to question what the prior vendor was doing. Were we seeing the results because they were just trying to stay within our budget? And now we're at the realistic expenditures, but
Look at the values document here. Reserves are being in the year, no change made, for 101,986, adding 107,000, 10,086
I think what we do at this point, we can, whatever's money's left, look, we've got that number of 38,000, where it's, we either at the meeting during the public hearing, I'd love to hear the rest of the audience, like what they want to say. And then, look, we can have two budgets. One, this is where we're at the end of the meeting, 38,000 going into the reserves, 38,000 going back to the homeowners, and then we can also provide on what is it going to be in the middle. I think that's going to be, I think that's where we're landing right now, right?
And quick review. That puts us, what puts an anticipated balance of 71,952 for 30th Street, which is still working good.
It's very light. Yeah, it's very light for a big district where you could have issues. Now, this is where we do have insurance, right? But during named storms, things that happen that cost capital expense, there's certain factors where it's, you have to pay 10,000 per storm, and then it's also a percentage of, for instance, if something happens to the clubhouse, you have to pay a certain percentage of what the clubhouse expenditure is, but that's why we have insurance, right? So, but I think that's what we present at your public hearing, removing the 38, meeting halfway, and then if we all, and completely giving that back to the homeowners. I think that's, I don't think we can really hash or beat this any harder than what we already have. I think you guys have been very, collective and frugal at the same time with this. But the increase in clubhouse rentals and miscellaneous income, I think that was a tremendous find. Janelle, like just putting that in there, I think it sets really good expectations. But I know it's not guaranteed, but I think that we can really depend on that, especially with where we are today's monies. Is there anything else we'd like to do with this budget right now?
I think I just have a comment, and this isn't meant to sound snarky. As we're talking about the reserves, there are a number of times over the past year I've brought up, where is this money coming from? I feel like sometimes when we're in meetings, we're like, yeah, let's spend money here and let's spend money there, and nobody's really, I feel like, tracking it against the budget. And so now we get to the end of the year, and we're like, oh my gosh, we don't have as much in reserves as we thought we did. So I'm a little torn on giving it back to the homeowners versus putting it in the reserves, because I don't feel like we as a board have done a good enough job tracking this against our budget, the decisions that we make. So that would just be my ask over this next year, is whether we put it in reserves or not, that as we're making decisions each month, that we're looking at the budget to say, do we have money in our budget to do these things? Because I don't want to get to the end of the next year and then have another big increase for the homeowners because we haven't done our due diligence with tracking projects to our budget.
And I just want to come to your defense there, board members and Janelle's, because I don't want you to be too hard on yourself here, because you had a playground that really needed to get done. That was amazing. And your pool resurface was about to close because there's a humongous issue there, which, that was
And that ended up being
200,000.
50% more than we originally budgeted.
Yes.
Because of the issues that they,
$380,000.
yeah.
And then that, you guys had to spend some really, that's the thing, you had all of this money reserved. Imagine if you hadn't.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be light on yourself that you did do a very good job in actually having it. You still got some monies here. Not many districts could. If you look at your budget is, 1.2 million a year. You had to spend over 400,000 in improvements because your playground was closed, your pool was about to close, and you had to hit it really ugly. So you had to pick up a third of your budget. The roof as well, that's an added expense. You had to find a third of your budget, and you had that all reserved. It's just we have to look to replenish it. You also had a landscaper walk off the job, and then your landscape increased by a third, just to do the maintenance. So that's that's unforeseen expenses. So as much as I just wanted to say that to the board. I think you guys did a great job over the years to make sure you had money in your reserves for sure. Because if you didn't, 450,000 divided by 664 residents, that's a horrible relative percentage with my
Special assessment.
Yeah, it is a special assessment, Steve, you're right. So,
Well, it wasn't that we were spending money willy-nilly and where's it coming from, one thing about the reserve, it was what was coming out of reserve was documented items. The one unforeseen matter was the giant increase on the pool. That wasn't a budget for accounting for, dollar amounts, but it did have to go back to reserve, so we had,
like overall, with your budgeted line items, your total expenditures over monies that you have, you actually spent under budget by like close to like $95,000. Revenue in, tax collected, what you spent was $100,000 less nearly. So,
well, that's something to remember too, the bottom line is the bottom line. The buckets are buckets for a reason, but the overall budget is $1.2 million budget, you only spend $900,000 on it. Your savings accounts there.
Yeah.
If you spend $50,000 over in one and $30,000 under on another, you're still pretty good, to the bottom line.
if you stick to this budget, you will be, with expenditures to revenues, there would be so you could be up to $120,000 less.
I think that might be helpful to know for next meeting, like where we are, because that
100%.
could make a difference between, do we really need that reserves, or could we give it?
Yeah,
You don't have three big projects that we have to face from now on for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
We're capped.
Yeah.
The project's a wall of $180,000.
Yeah,
But to John, earlier than you, we did that in phases for the next couple of years. It's not all at
Yeah.
one time.
yeah.
So then, once I've had this completely cleaned up, like we've got 3 different budgets that we want to see. I'll circulate those to each of the board members. Patty she's pretty quick with this, so hopefully she'll be able to get this out, knock this out by the end of the week to you guys. Alright? So it's the 38, and then splitting that half, and also giving it all back. Alright, so anything else related to the budget?
I don't know if this goes under budget or volunteer insurance, because I know that that's one of our topics, but one of my questions, because I think we've had an issue with the flags, is really expensive. I think it was $1,200 per incident to put up the flags and take them down is what we're being charged. And I think we would end up spending $10,000 a year just to put flags up and take them down. So one of my questions is, can we hire someone, if we can't do insurance or volunteer insurance is outrageously expensive, can you hire someone that's almost like a contractor and they just work certain time periods where we need them like put up flags and take them down and?
So we have, we did reach out to a company called Blue Wave Lighting. They do Lakeshore Branch over here, they actually do all the lighting, but they have a banner. They do all the banners and stuff like this, which is more than what we need. We've asked them for a quote. They're supposed to have it for your August meeting. But I don't see Dupree like schedule. So we provided them the schedule, which is we have Memorial Day, Flag Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Patriots Day, Veterans Day, Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, and then again Memorial Day.
How many is it?
7 or 8.
9.
So that's $10,800, and then like another one of our line items is $5,000 for holiday decorations. I don't think we're buying holiday decorations, isn't that just to put up what we already have? So we're looking at over $15,000 just for flags and holiday decorations. I just thought you could hire somebody on like a contracted basis where they could do things like that. It would be way cheaper.
And that's our ask to, now Marshall, are you still working on that one? I know you've contacted, another vendor regarding the flags as well, correct?
So I think the right we had this was the full schedule, and then we had the option to do possibly 7 mobilizations, like we did this year. We did the flags, get ready of them, if my math's correct there. I have reached out and trying to get that short up, and I may reach out to a couple more. And I might even try reaching out to holiday decoration companies, which would probably be just in that same wavelength. Because it'll be off season for them potentially at a number of those locations, and it might be good business for them, and they might be willing to bid it at a reasonable rate. And we'll come back and see what basically what these companies come back with and give you guys a better feel, so you can make a one-to-one decision on how you want to proceed.
And Marshall, as soon as we get those numbers, we need to get that back added to the budget. Or, I think we don't add it, we leave it as is, but then if there's a change, then we change it at the meeting for you guys to, you know, because as it stands, we are at, where we started, we are at deficit, or, you know, which is kind of good, but,
What was the premium for the volunteer insurance policy?
so this was it was actually worse than that, Steve. The problem is that in order for volunteers to do any volunteer work that needs a ladder or anything like that, they essentially said that GMS, because we are,
It was something that's what the BS line about, and you train professional, train under ocean, train in all this.
We need to have
Nonsense.
approval from Duke to use the polls, which we probably don't have.
written approval from Duke, and then if the event that someone fell, GMS would be liable too.
I still like my idea of, here's a piece of paper, I'm not gonna sue, thank you, I will take care of claims. If there is nothing else we can do.
I think there's someone in, well, I don't know, maybe there's someone in the audience that would just do that.
Well, I thought that Bennett said that we.
All day long.
No,
All day long, there's two right
Yeah,
there.
but not, yeah.
I'll watch.
No, Bennett, you're not listening. But,
I
yeah.
would have asked if PTAC had already said they could sign a waiver, that's why we had moved forward, that's why I sent out the notice asking for volunteers. Because PTAC already said, yeah, as long as they sign a waiver, we can do it.
Right, but I think it was contingent to find out what he just said.
It was contingent upon what he just said, but every time we have meetings about something, like
We would never do anything.
the 5K, we need ambulances and fire trucks and police cars and $80,000 worth of this and that and the other, and it was like, no, we'll just.
I think
Why can't we have a liability waiver drafted by Bennett, and then we can decide the flags are here, they want to sign it, and we get them out, and we're gonna get one.
If you're standing in the bed of a truck and you don't have a ladder, you don't need to be ladder certified, you don't need fall protection, problem solved.
Bennett, can you just circulate that waiver?
Yeah, sure, and what I can say about this too is I mean, you know, the waiver still, could operate as a layer of legal defense, and we can use that, as a defense that would ever, sort of file a lawsuit against us, for any activity in connection with these sort of volunteer services. I guess the difficulty with this is if the insurance company, isn't going to provide any kind of insurance for this, you could be in a situation where you're not going to actually, you're actually not going to provide insurance defense counsel if you didn't sue. So you'll be on the hook for paying for the defense fee. So you can still use the waiver. You can still use the waiver as a defense. That might actually be meritorious here, but you still would have to pay the legal fees. So that's the kind of other consideration there. So I mean, it's ultimately up to the district. I mean, as far as, you know, to the board, as far as whether you want to proceed, even given the insurance company's position on this. You know, to the extent that I know Jason was talking about some other issues with GMS particularly, and how that might increase their liability. So that's another aspect of this too. But you know, as far as whether, I mean, this doesn't stop the district entirely from, you know, soliciting volunteers to do particular things, but it is something to keep in mind, and whether you're going to move forward, this really depends on your level of risk tolerance.
Well, and that was why I sent the email to the board members with this discovery. I thought we were past it, we were over it, and then it was, you would have seen I think you guys might have been on the email to see my response. I was not too pleased when I saw that this was just another headache. But I think that there's, let's stay, I think we just move on from that topic. Can you circulate that, that waiver to,
Yeah,
and then,
I'll shoot it around.
okay, perfect.
Who took it down this time? Was it you guys?
This last round?
Correct.
Mark, I don't know if it, I don't know the answer to that. Marshall, did we take them down?
Yes,
We did?
we did, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Can we follow up with agreement on that and figure out how to find her? Is that just fabric or is that fabric and balls?
Fabric and poles. I think it's 29, 30.
28.
28,
Mhm.
that's close.
Yeah.
What was the question?
That's all right, we got 28 poles.
So when I did the initial count with Brian did Brian things, it was 62.
It was
It's
60.
supposed to be 62.
Yeah, as I said, it looks.
Brian,
it's
I
looking
guess
a
it,
little sparse.
our Brian did things, like,
I know Brian 62, Brian did, came up with like 140, like actually 130, if you're saying 28. But, if you hit not every one, but almost every other one, to be like it should, like.
so I think physically, I think we've only got 28 poles.
Right, she's supposed to order 62.
So he originally ordered I thought it was 50, with flags that have fallen down or taken,
Stolen.
et cetera.
A lot of your flags get stolen,
Yes.
which just sucks, but.
Well, they're getting
We have, like,
stolen,
extra
right,
flags.
crank down on the crank down, take out the
But
road.
anyway, I think we've got a plan. We've got a plan. Yes. The next item was the consideration of the complete IT proposal for the surf protector.
Did you ever confirm if that all issue?
I believe that needs to be tabled. We wanted a better answer, but I don't have anything added to this agenda to really talk more on that, other than there was the
That was his action item.
2,786. Glenn, are we good right now, or do you want to table that, or do we need to move forward with it? I think we have
He
it.
gives us some info that he needs to know.
So do we need to approve this?
I say yes.
Where are we at with
For-
insurance? Do we have an answer on whether or not that's being approved by insurance?
So that was the other thing too, that I had my company run the numbers, we were $300 cheaper, but he's taking care of all of the camera, all the readers and all that kind of stuff under warranty, and not having to cost us any insurance fees or selling stuff equipment. And then when we bring up the discussion, which become a shade session, but for other cameras, we talked about other locations, he was another something calling, almost a cost on that. So it was, I'm not getting involved in it, other than, yeah, that's fine, but I'm not getting my company involved.
All right, so with that, we have a motion to approve the surge protection.
Motion.
Second. All right, like that. All in favor? Ready, motion passes. Alan, do you want to just get, I think you're on that email chain with Dreamer, we'll get that proposal like knocked out as soon as possible. Get them over there.
While we're on that real quick, has the other items been replaced yet, you know,
They were here today, they replaced all the cameras,
Okay.
the readers is still not working. They're
Okay.
coming back tomorrow for it.
Okay.
Next item we've got is the acceptance of the fiscal year insurance packet from Aegis. Now, what this is just, this is their proposed packet. They were here not too long ago, where they assessed your current assets and what you have, the insurance levels, what they believe so that you guys are properly insured. I'd like to provide this to you guys just in case that there's any further changes that they may have missed or any other items. But the idea is you accept it as is, you sign it, and then if we see any changes, whether we need to lower or increase, if we don't see them tonight, then we get them back to us so we can have that reflected on their property schedule, just like any insurance policy. Just like with auto, if you take insurance and then you decide to cancel it and just pay, you do get your monies back on that line item as it's reduced. Was there anything that we wanted to change per that insurance schedule right now?
This is just for them to give a premium, or is this to put the policy in place?
So this will be for your fiscal year 26. Now, I'm providing you the insurance schedule, so they've said per the budget that this amount of insurance is going to be, I think the budget was 42,000 for this property schedule. But if you were to say, I think the clubhouse is grossly underinsured, you said you wanted to add 100,000 to it, then I could add 100,000. Obviously, that means that reflected, you will see a premium there. But so Steve, for example, some districts don't ever, some from other management companies, we don't do this, but we like to provide the property schedule so everyone can see and the public, what we're insuring. And then in the event that if there was something to go wrong, we've got our insurance schedule, we can all see if we've got protection on it. But
The playground group is one that's definitely way more than that, they're saying just play through.
75,000 is the replacement value, but
Same with-
probably when they came out and did the review, they probably only saw half of it.
Well,
Or
that's,
none of it.
that's very possible.
Yeah, so that should be at least 90.
Can we get back to you on this, because there's several things I see here.
Yeah, you're currently on your old insurance schedule. This is for fiscal year 26. This is one, but if we are going to make changes, I would like to kind of know what those changes are. I know you want to look at them, Steve, so maybe I'll move my focus to what I've seen.
Some of the focus I see, in addition to what Glenn had mentioned about the playground, entry monument signs, they've got valued at $263,000.
You think you could lower those by at least 60?
I'm getting monument signs for 50 to 75, depending on.
Nice big ones like that? I mean,
Creative signs, give you 3 or 4 quotes, I think that's way over there.
so we can lower those to like 150,
125.
125? Okay. And look, I think that's right there. That's a $250,000 savings. This is what they're recommending that you have.
What do you think about the pool, Steve? If we have 192, that's the cost of the building, I think 150,000 is for service.
Times 3 through 7.
Yeah, we're paying, our pools, unfortunately, we're paying between 250 and 275.
Like if they were right, cut some and then turn around and eat some back, then it's gonna be about even.
But again, you're ensuring that, we just went through some of the structural changes. So your value of that, it's not full replacement in my mind.
So a couple of options. What I can do, because I know that the shopping insurance is important, I use this schedule right now. If we find another company, say Brown and Brown come back and there's a significant savings and we know that we're going to get the same service and coverage, if we lower the 2 monuments to what Steve's saying, I thought there would be an even bigger savings. So we just need to, I think I move forward seeking proposals using this schedule, unless Steve, you can turn that around quickly. Might get it back, but that's entirely up to you. Look, what would you like me to?
I mean, we want to compare apples to apples, so if you're sending it out tonight to all the vendors, then yeah, we probably just need to use this one.
Okay.
And then make changes before we put anything into place.
I mean, if I get the changes before, it doesn't hurt for me to change it, like these numbers have changed.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got that on my list. And it's not approving, it would have been an acceptance, but we don't need to accept it tonight. I'm going to put it back on your August meeting. If I can get this back in August, if not, it'll be in September, which is before your renewal. And that's where you would see the savings, because this policy would be in effect October 1, not immediately. You would see out your current policy and then this one will be adopted. Then, next item is the ratification of the Prince's Sons Agreement for Landscape Services. So, per your, you see in here the agreement from Prince. There was the discussion of, where could we save monies per the contract. They suggested so this was what they said: we can perform less mows around your ponds. That wasn't really what we thought. Our idea was sharpen your pencil, save money, not less service, because we're paying for the paying for the best service here. You need to do the job to the best of your ability, which.
So the RFPs go forward, we agree to.
Right, so the RFPs as it was, but they basically said, I think your previous vendor either didn't provide you the right service or highly underestimated how much work it was. And I think towards the end, the board and the district was kind of feeling it and seeing it. So this contract is exactly as stated for the essential services. But in the event that, I think there was the annuals that they put in, it was 1,100 as to opposed to you were paying a rotation of 4,500. That's 3 rotations, so that's a serious savings there. But Steve, have you ever worked with Prince & Sons before? You heard good things, or?
I am not working with them,
Okay.
not familiar with them. So Jason, a couple questions I have just with regards to the contract itself. It talks about they're providing monthly written reports, but it's specified what type of reports? Are they health reports, irrigation, soil testing? Can we clarify that?
That's in their scope that they provided those, those are the reports that they provide.
I didn't see anything in their RFP responses as far as what type of reporting they're providing and frequency.
So
I'm pretty sure they told us that they could do it as often as we wanted them to, and whatever we need in there. Pretty much all the vendors said the same thing. Whatever reports you want, we'll give you.
Yeah, they were gonna provide
You
irrigation
tell
reports,
us
that's
what
right,
you
they were
want.
providing soil testing.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to get it in writing, just because we had the same issue with Cardinal. They kept saying, I asked for an irrigation report for months, and we never got it. So I just wanted to get ahead of it, especially with the new contract.
Yeah.
Again, if it's not, maybe we do addendum or get clarification,
yeah.
get email form from Bennett. And then also Exhibit C, for additional services, it talks about contractor's fee summary. I didn't see a fee summary. It references the RFP scope, but there's no fee breakdown. What's my,
So if you go to page 104 in this agenda, like on the iPad, I think that's the fee schedule that you're looking for. It has everything, just detailed from essential services, so you can see.
no, I see that, but it doesn't break down. So I'm looking at this from an invoicing perspective. So they come out and do some additional irrigation work. What's their hourly labor? And that should be part of the contract. This is for ad services, not part of what's in the original.
It was in the packet from the meeting when they were all here, each one of them has their own fee schedule.
Yeah, I think that's what Steve's saying, that needs to be in the contract.
Yeah, because I mean,
Not just
just looking at the previous invoice, their hourly rate's $65. Cardinal was $90 an hour, so I just want to make sure that we have clear going forward as a board that if somebody shows up on site, you're charging something. What's their mobilization fee? That all needs to be part of it.
So there's just a couple of little addendums there, what they are. So Bennett, did you hear what those were as well? Because they're going to be, we're going to have you draw that up.
Yeah, I mean, vaguely, I didn't hear all that well, so I'm going to need to circle up with you or Steve or both of you to discuss. But yeah, I'm willing to incorporate any terms you guys want me to hear. Of course, Jason's email can't guarantee that, what, if any, friends will agree to, but certainly willing to work with you guys to incorporate any of your preferred language, the extent rate.
I think, like the addendum idea, just asking to include a monthly report, what is it gonna look like, irrigation hourly rate, and your mobilization, I think that's pretty simple. They should be able to provide that.
It should have state rates
Okay.
Yeah, so I've got that, in my notes, and I'll also, follow up with you on that.
Okay.
Marshall, any questions on that as well? I've got it in my meeting notes to include you on that, Marshall, so, if you have any questions, we can discuss that tomorrow at some point. Maybe Freddie.
That sounds good. I'm sorry I broke it for a second. I didn't get it spotted, right? And it's a little hard to use. It sounds like it's actually like, kind of separate with four ones that I did not try and create built in. Is that done for the irrigation, right?
Just, well, providing,
Work.
yeah, monthly report and just the pricing. Are you out on site here?
I am on I-4 right now.
Okay, have fun with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
What is
And I
that?
already talked to Wednesday and just reports reference. I'll send you reports to the items and see if there are additional time on the site items. And we got people on. So, just work it out at this point.
Marshall, I can't hear any, Marshall, I can't hear anything that you're saying, Dave. I think
Apologies.
I4 was to, like, just concentrate on I4 drive on that, and then, I'll circle back with you after the meeting. Any other questions, or do we have
What is the cancellation?
termination on this?
It's a 30 day for us. without
30 days
cost.
for them and 60 for them.
60 for them with cost, 30 days for us without cost.
Yeah, so we changed that to be a little bit more favorable for the districts, which doesn't put us in that kind of bind again. But I think what we need is a motion to ratify, subject to the changes with the provided addendum changes, monthly reporting, irrigation outlay rate, and the mobilization rate detailed in the addendum.
Motion.
Motion by Janelle, and a second by Glenn. All in favor? Pretty much passes. Okay. All right, so where we are, part of this agenda, we're at supervisor's request, and we're going to go into audience comments. Let's start with supervisor's request. Do we have any?
I do. Any update on the uplighting that needs to be corrected in Bedford yet?
The,
The ones that are not
I'm going to ask
7 months.
Marshall, I know that do you have an update on those uplights over there at Medford? Weren't you playing around with those?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good. So for a second, I've got one fixture that needs to be replaced. I replaced the bolts in the other one, so it should be operational at this point, except for the one that's broken. I'll have guys double check them when they have it to the site wide. Double check. I've got bolts in the slotted to replace it. You want to put it, plus I want to let a couple of obsolete fixtures that are kind of tough to get issues at the exercise. Can be located too. So, your future, hopefully we'll have one yet. Lights are all lights basically, yet, community heads working. So I'm scheduled for the repair.
Something,
My takeaway is he's fixed the balls, but the one fixture you can't find it.
you got a lot more out of that than me.
I
You did really well. You did really well, but yeah, that's better than mine.
The lights at the entrance are shining basically.
Most of the lights in Bedford are repaired, so a fixture that has to be replaced. And I have a fixture that's been camera so immediate small ones.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Lights at the Aaron cutoff entrance, they're facing into the bushes, so you can't see the warning sign at night. He was gonna move it in front of the bushes.
I couldn't hear him well, but Aaron Cutoff had a couple of old obsolete fixtures that are basically buried in the bushes that we can also use in the future if we have another light that gets broken. So some of those lights are getting old.
Okay, so, but I think just redirecting a few of the lights for the entrances, making sure we're maximizing the lighting opportunity that
You can't see the side of the.
10-4 angles, got it.
angles, there you go. All right, so,
And then, I know you're gonna be meeting some of the trees in Bedford, they're falling down, so they need to be restaked. Some of the ones that Carmel planted at one point.
I've heard trees that's my hallway.
yeah, some of the trees are leaning out there by Medford, I guess the previous landscaper put them in, so we can look to see if they need to be restaked. I guess they're gonna be needing restaked.
Okay, that's one thing super cool. I mean, I've had the area to be done, we have a landscaper selected. I can get them on these items clearly.
All right.
And then Jason, they need to look at the trees collectively, some of them are certain.
We can do that one,
Hang pretty low.
Well, we modified in the contract anywhere from 8 feet to 12 feet.
Correct.
And they need to, and I know that was one of the things that they had said, that there was another, 30 days, 60 days, was to go through the contracts with that.
Yeah. All right. I got you there, Marshall, with just a couple of questions that we had for Prince and Sons. All right. Any more board member requests?
Meeting with Harold tomorrow at 6 here about the annual civilian. The only thing that they're going to put, that they want to put in right now, the is. So they'll be trying to get us through the negotiation. But I'm going to have a conversation with irrigation, all the other wants and needs and desires of things. So it'd be a good collective conversation. Kind of set some of the goals and expectations and those kind of things, so.
I just have a comment about our amenities. So we have a soccer team out here that's practicing again, which looks like the exact same team that was here 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And they said, oh, well, most of these are residents. I think we need to make sure that we're verifying this information, because for whatever reason, the soccer teams especially seem to know what to say to be able to use the field without paying for it, and that's not fair to our residents, and it's not fair to the people who are paying. So, no matter
That's
what.
kind of sports out there, they're good at using.
Yeah, they're saying it's not a soccer team, it's like they're all the same age, they're all, yeah, I mean, I don't know why the soccer field seems to be an issue.
There's also flag football.
Yeah.
So it's not all the soccer players' problem. It's the flag footballers that were playing there as well.
Either, all of it, yeah, I mean, whether it's, the soccer field or the tennis courts, I just think we need to do a little better job of validating what they're telling us,
Yeah.
so that they're not continuing to use that for free.
We're validating against the scope of what we have, the amount of residents that are allowed per.
It may need to be a revisit of our policies.
Yeah, we may need to tighten the soccer field policy.
Yeah, this is. I didn't know people were talking that much in here anyway. Okay, so I
And
think.
then when we get to audience comments, there was a person who had to leave and asked me to read their statements, so.
I think, was there any more board member? Well, why don't we start with that one first?
Okay, I'm gonna go fast because it's really long. This is from Denise Pinto. I've been a resident here for 10 years and I have concerns regarding the proposed budget, some that go beyond the numbers. While no one can disagree that the cost for everything have risen, this is the second year in a row that this board has proposed a significant increase in our CDDs. Last year, Janelle and I reviewed every line item in the proposed budget and came up with ideas on what could be cut based on what was an absolute need and what was just reckless spending. High CDD fees impact our community and resale value. People here are going to be forced to move because they can no longer afford thousands of dollars every year in CDD fees. And there will be people who will not buy a house in here because of the high CDD fees affecting all of our resale values and efforts. It's something most home buyers take into consideration when they buy a home. While there are projects to be done, we must start letting the needs dictate the budget instead of letting the budget dictate those projects. In any business, when budgets are created each year, lists of projects are created and evaluated for their return on investment. Ultimately, things always get cut out. Careful consideration must go into this budget to determine what is absolutely necessary versus things that can be cut off for another year, eliminated entirely, or better planned for later. Line items should be scrutinized to see where we can cut back and make up for the necessary increases. In terms of some specifics on this year's budget, there are several line items that are definitely not necessary. The mulch budget was doubled from 8,000 to 16. Based on the contents of the last landscaper's resignation notice, it was clear that we need more mulch throughout the community. However, it can be done in phases throughout those areas over 2 to 3 years, so different areas mulch, so the budget can be balanced out over that time. Would it be nice to do it all at once? Yes. Is the place going to fall apart or look much different than it does now? We mulch on a rotating basis? No. The perennial flower budget was increased from 9 to 15,000. The point of perennials is that they last and bloom year after year. Why do we need to replace them multiple times a year? This is wasteful to throw away perfectly healthy plants and wasteful spending. There's no one who's ever going to walk by the clubhouse and say, oh, how awful they didn't change those flowers in 3 months. Why hasn't the board looked into planting things that look good but don't have to be replaced repeatedly? This is just another example of not looking at the budget to determine what can be skipped this year to redirect that original budgeted amount for other projects, thus lowering the overall budget increase. The Christmas decoration budget was increased from 2 to 5,000. I think everyone here knows I'm the last person to avoid Christmas decorations, but why do we need to spend 5,000 to decorate our clubhouse? What exactly does that include and why is that necessary? These are just a few of the examples where adjustments could have been made to lower the overall increase in budget for those projects that are indeed necessary. If we were to approve last year's budget the way it was proposed and this year's budget the way it is proposed, we're looking at $300 a year increases each year. With this increase alone, we are paying over $2,000 a year for limited amenities in the clubhouse that residents can't even use unless they rent it out. When will it stop? Because every year there will be projects to do. So why should residents believe that this is not the new normal of proposed budgets each year?
Alright. Do we have any other audience comments? And will we do one at a time if we can, please?
I actually,
I've got one in the front here, and then it's just going to be, it's not a Q&A, so we'll allow the residents to speak to the end. And if we want to answer back, we can wait till everyone's finished and then ask them as a group. Up to you guys. But, go ahead, name and address.
Okay, Korea, 5830 Candytuft Place. Just a couple comments quickly. There's been discussion in previous CDD meetings about repairing and maintaining the ticket booth. And I didn't see that in the budget anywhere, and I don't know if that would be a capital project or what the result was of that. When doing budgets in the future, can we see 2 prior years of data with the current year so we can see trends to see where things are increasing? Because that's very helpful to see in a budget process. And there are a few companies within our development that do holiday lighting. One of them happens to live on Justica. They might be something we go out to the community. They're fully insured companies. They go up on our roofs and do our lighting. So that might be something we might want to engage the community with. I know this is probably going to be a bone of contention, but there was supposed to be a tree planted or a bench in honor of Bob Hornbeck, and it's been about 2 years. And did they plant it? Was there a celebration? Because there was supposed to be a thing.
Not sure, another tree was planted, there's a plaque.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
If there was a tree planted, then there's a plaque out there.
Okay,
I
all
don't
right.
know if there was a
There was like, no, I didn't see any announcement or anything about it, so thank you for clarifying. Lighting in the back, all the ballards that are going up and being replaced. If the property closes at dusk, why do we need lighting in the back to light the pathways if no one's supposed to be on the property after dark other than the tennis courts? Curiosity. Why are we spending so much money on those ballards if people aren't supposed to be out here?
Okay,
Finish comments, please, Andy.
That's it.
all right. Do we want to just wait until the end and take everyone's and then answer, or how do we want to? Okay. Any more audience comments? Yes, I might have you. I know that your voice projects, but if you come a little bit forward so we've got audience members can hear you too. Go ahead, sir.
I'm Rick Mathias. I live at 5702 Sheer Bliss Loop. I'm a resident here of 20 years now. Like most people, I feel, I got my letter, and the first thing was WTF. I applaud the letter you read, and just would ask merely, or my comment would be to please, and then either enlighten me, where did I miss it? Where did my wife and I miss it? When you are proposing your budget, when you are proposing a 3 times increase in mulch. And I think I understand the landscaping, that you had said our crew walked off the job this year. We had to hire another one on the spot, and that's why there was a 30% increase in last year to now. But that if there's a way that on the website or wherever you do, some transparency, some explanation. The perennials, as it was earlier mentioned, yes, how? Why can't we go to xeriscape or something that requires a little less? 3-month replacement every 3 months. And that would be my comment to please just explain a little more to us. Perhaps a little easier pill to swallow when you're told why you're being asked to swallow this.
What's that? Okay, you've got a minute's money left here.
I think that
When you're done.
I could probably, I'm pretty sure I can extend this for another minute. I think that soccer should be eliminated. Rugby is the only true sport. Flag football, whatever. I agree that that should be taken care of as well. I wonder if I think that it's possible. Yeah, it's possible that I could extend it just another until one of you says, yep, time's up. That I. Thanks, man. Hey, brother, why can't we go hang the flags ourselves? I know I've watched someone do it themselves one time, and man, did that give me a good feeling. And yeah, if it's $10,000 for somebody to come, hang flags,
Nine times a year.
sometimes you may have a resident who would volunteer,
Oh, we have plenty of
who is
volunteers.
OSHA House Whopper approved, has his OSHA 8-hour refresher.
Hey, you're going over 3 minutes now. I'm kidding.
All good. But thank you for allowing me my time.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
I reach out to Fallon constantly about doing different events, and I have kids, so I'm a big fan of doing kid events, but I'm also a mom who needs to get the hell out of the house, and I'm a big fan of adult events, and I have no problem volunteering. I think we should get a list of names locally together for her that are willing to comment, help out, whatever it takes to kick off events to cut back costs, and maybe contribute ourselves. Also, I think it would be helpful for community members to see the different variations of quotes that you're getting from phone companies or electric companies, like whatever it is you're looking for, right down to landscaping and say, this is who we compared, this is who we got,
I'm going to stop your time just in case, because I don't want you to lose your time because someone's over-speaking you.
I'm good with that. I want it to be transparent to the rest of us that if you are price comparing, that when we're looking at this budget, we know exactly what we're looking at and what you've done for your homework to help us better understand why our costs are going up, or thank you for them going down. So just a little bit more transparency would be.
Any more audience comments?
I just like to, I'm new to this, been out here 5 years, but just like our budget in our country, you gotta make tough decisions and you gotta make things happen. You just can't keep going and raising up and cutting this and doing that. At some point, you gotta make a decision that, you know what, at some point, we can't put lights, holiday lights at each end of the complex for whatever reason. I like Christmas, I'm not a humbug kind of guy. Hanging the flags, I love it. My uncle's from World War II and he's still living, he's 100 years old. But your special events, holiday decorations, if you gotta have money to fix pool pumps, that's where you take it from. You can't take it, you just can't keep jacking up people's CDD payments just to cover certain things that you don't have money for. It just doesn't make sense to me. I know at my house, if I can't afford it, we don't go to dinner. We'll fix something that's in the house. You know, I hate to do that sometimes, but you have to do it, or whatever anybody's situation is, it doesn't matter. But at some point, somebody's gotta stand up and say, enough is enough. One kid or two kids came to a special event, I don't know what you paid for those, that's a lot of money for special events. I might throw 10 events and just take that money and say I'm doing 10 events. So at some point, you gotta just kick back and say, you know, the community can run itself for the most part, you would think, without having to be led to the water trough. So at some point, you gotta make a decision what's more important, fixing the pool pump or decorating lights for Christmas at each end. Maybe you don't hang the flag 9 times out of the year, maybe we hang it on 5 times out of the year, 4 times out of the year for special days like Memorial Day and Veterans Day. You know, so I mean, those are just things I think you need to just think about and look at and have the ball enough to do it and just do it. But I agree with that gentleman, and I agree with the letter that was written as well. I mean, there's just a lot of pork in this.
Okay. Anything else, sir? Anything else, sir? All right. Gentlemen in the back.
Yep, Sean at 5950 Blue Sage Drive. I mean, I don't know, last one, I'm gonna reiterate pretty much what everybody said, but the flags, obviously, we're capable of doing flags all signed, whatever the waiver needs to be signed. And then for the budget, I know everybody's been touching on the budget, but if we budgeted 20,000 and we're at 32, and you were touching on invoices, I mean, obviously, everybody here wants the community to look good and be good, but why is it at $12,000 already? Like, we should be able to pinpoint that number, like you guys were saying, so I mean, if we can kind of see why, and then the projection of 60,000, I mean, you can get them to come out and say, we're gonna trim this tree, this X, Y, and Z. I mean, then propose your budget, but don't just, we're just shooting numbers out, I think. Same thing with like the Duke bill. You're gonna have to pay the bill regardless of what it is. But we all have smart meters now. You can see exactly what the kilowatt there is. That's easy math right there. And then for, I know you guys were just touching on the residents versus non-residents. For the vendors, I think we should just eliminate the vendors really, unless we're really gaining a lot, and it's residents. If it's residents, by all means, but the amount of money that you're gonna recoup from from the vendors, you're never gonna replace, like, resurfacing of the tennis courts. They're gonna annihilate the courts before you actually get the money back. So it's gonna end up costing us in the long run. That's pretty much it.
Anything else, Sean?
No. I like the lights up back.
Two things that I can just touch on was why do we light up the back, and that is for security reasons. The idea was to just light up the place because it's a deterrent for security reasons, and there are people that don't close the club.
That's what I was about to say, yeah, the grounds themselves don't close, so people can go on the walking path at any time, day or night.
Right.
And I know personally, I walk this path, and early in the mornings in the wintertime, it doesn't get light until later. And we have had some issues in the back corner with some actions taking place that were illegal, so it's again for security, and for those who do enjoy the walking path when it's not light up.
Do I still have like 20 seconds? Fine, sure.
I don't want to,
Sure.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, just like the whole irrigation thing, so I know we're putting in a budget, we know it's annihilated from what Cardinal was saying, we all know, I mean, the irrigation work, whatever, but we're putting a budget out there, we really don't even know what the cause or how deep it is, so I mean, so we're budgeting for something that we don't even know exactly what we're budgeting for, in my opinion. Same thing with a lot of this stuff, I think we're budgeting for things that we don't have a good concept even on. I mean, I know you guys are doing your damnedest, and I know you guys do a good job, but I think if
The irrigation itself, I think from an overall capital repair, we need that information to actually budget for that.
Correct.
I think for the irrigation lineup we put in the budget, it's based upon the last 4 years, at least my analysis, and we've spent unfortunately upwards of $23,000 on an annual basis, just in irrigation repairs. So, you know, we've been trying to Band-Aid this as we move forward the best we can, but there's gonna be a day where, a reckoning where we're gonna have to put some significant money. It's not today, not this year, but unfortunately, some board's gonna have to deal with it sooner or later.
And we asked Cardinal for that, said, hey,
Yeah.
what would it, we're tired of mandating, we feel like we're wasting your money. What would it cost, and they wouldn't do it. That was right before they stepped down, so, like Steve said, we know it's coming, we know it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. So unfortunately, for now, we have to mandate because we don't have that kind of
Sure.
money. But we do know that's coming in the future.
But on the landscaping, like, if we're over $12,100, like, there should be a reason we can look back and say, well, this tree got hit by lightning, this tree died. I mean, it should be a little bit easier to track what trees are getting cut, or what are we doing, or are we pruning, or what are we cutting back?
And we do have, so I'm gonna speak to that, and I'm gonna speak to Tracy's on being more transparent, so with the vendors and our quotes. So I don't know if you know this, but out on the CDD website are our agenda for every meeting. And in that agenda is every quote that we see as a board. Everything we see as a board is out on our website. It is completely transparent. So if you ever want to know what we're comparing, what we're talking about, it's all out there already. There's nothing hidden. There's a summary of meeting minutes that tells you what we talked about, what was discussed, and what was decided. So
There's a monthly financials that the board goes through, and through a check run, it provides every monthly expenditures.
along with the invoice that was given, and we've questioned those multiple times. We've had issues with them that we've questioned. And there's also, so Fallon does a summary of all of the events taking place, everything that she has planned for the next 2 months, how much it's gonna cost for those events for the month, and we go through those with her. The same, Marshall does a field report, and a lot of times he provides pictures. At one point, Cardinal was giving us pictures of landscape, what they had done for landscaping and what we were being charged for, what got fixed, what didn't. So, those kind of questions, I would refer back to all of the documentation that's online.
And if we get like kicked off by somebody that's renting out the tennis courts, I mean, if it's residents, by all means, but if it's people just trying to make a couple dollars off of our amenities, I think that's crazy.
No, agreed, and we started asking, obviously, the intent was for that to be a resident, for residents. We want to give them a discount opportunity to have this. My neighbor is a perfect example, they just came up, hey, we got kicked off for residents, this is not fair. So what we've asked is, we've asked for a detailed list of how many residents are actually taking advantage of these programs. Because again, I can speak for myself, I can't speak for other board members, but if we find an majority of the residents aren't using it, we're not gonna move forward. We're not just providing a facility for them to use for everybody else.
Yeah, I've got to follow up with stuff like issue with the current tennis codes.
Yeah, as I say, we said that there was an issue with the tennis coach. He was only authorized to use one court, and he was using both, and he shouldn't have been. So that's supposed to be getting addressed.
Well, you're gonna get a lot more wear and tear. I mean, I'd rather they almost sent empty than just get, we're gonna be paying the price to get them resurfaced. Or I know you guys talked about repainting. They'll be repainted, but they need to be sealed where the cracks are and stuff. I'm up there 2 or 3 times a week,
So it's your fault. That's it. That's what the purpose is. The residents using it, not like the trader as such.
I bought a squeegee on Amazon and I squeegeed the water off when it's so.
I'm gonna go back to Kate. The ticket booth, I think, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I was gonna hit on that one. That's on my radar, Kate, more for the fall, that's good. I am gonna have Prince quoted just to say how much it's gonna cost to get all the big heavy stuff off of it or whatever, to get into a situation where we as residents, if we want to go out there and organize something, to clean it up. I know some of the stuff that's out there is bigger than we have the equipment, or any of us will have the equipment for. But that is something kind of near and dear to me to get cleaned up back after the storm from last year.
And while we're on that, I know we had reached out to National Historical Society, I believe it was, to figure out if that was a historical monument before we did any type of work to it. So that was part of the delay there.
Because it's sort of creepy. I mean, I go down that road and people are like, there.
But
Just
that-
like there.
This is a great example of, do you consider that a need? Are we gonna go spend money?
Well, if it's a
to-
national monument, you have no choice. If it's a historic,
It's
you have to
not.
maintain it.
It's not. And then we run into the other issue where we wanna use volunteers, but we can't get volunteers approved at the moment, so we're fighting the red tape to get volunteers. So it's those two things working hand in hand. It's, we have all these needs over here and the community saying, cut the fat. And then we have other people saying, yeah, but we want this cleaned up and we want it looking pretty.
Right.
It's a catch-22.
I think visually, this is very, like, we need to, I think if, from management, it's, we would want to get the more focal points, the things that are being used, and then later on down the line, look, it's absolutely there, but that's not a selling point for your community, I don't
Right.
think. But it is something that you want to take care of, but it's,
If you see
there's a
people
lot of
out there-
residents that don't even know that belongs to you.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
If you see people out there that shouldn't be there,
Call the
let them
police.
out know.
Well, not all the police.
Yeah.
Oh.
If she calls the,
It's daily.
well, it's one of those things, if she calls, they're not gonna shut up. If Fountain calls, references the trespass agreement we have to share with the sheriff's office, they're gonna do something about it. We've proven that a couple of different times, there's been multiple people that have said ran off trespass. So they get a warning, leave. They say, okay, they leave, they come back again, then their people actually gets taken by the sheriff's office with the trespass agreement that we have in place. The mulch was brought up by a couple of y'all, so Cardinal under mulched every year significantly. To do it right, to do it based on the scope that was created, it needed to be increased. We actually held them to the fire on when they did this the last time, and I know we're still arguing with that charge from them.
Yeah.
But they just have not been doing it right. So I mean, unfortunately, that one is, kind of is what it is. Flags we talked about, volunteers, there's multiple hands in the audience for that one.
I do want to make a comment on the flags, because somebody asked, do we need them? I will say there was a holiday, I can't remember which one, where there was a miscommunication between the board and GMS and the flags didn't get put out, and the board was pretty much crucified for that. We didn't appreciate, and it's probably Veterans Day, we didn't appreciate veterans because we didn't put flags out, so overall, I think the community is very set on having flags out for these specific holidays, so I don't feel like that's something that we can take out of our budget.
I didn't say take it out, I just said you don't have to do it all 9 days. I don't understand why you have to do it 9 times. I mean, can't you put them up for,
Well, you left them up from Memorial Day till,
That's because it costs $10,000
Yeah,
every time you
but
put them up.
I don't see a problem with that
$1,000
if they're
every-
up for that gap for
Sorry,
those 3 holidays.
Take that job.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're always, I know I'm personally trying to figure out ways that we can utilize volunteers. We've been doing the volunteer thing for months. I would love to see, I think there are people in our community willing to help and give up their time, which is phenomenal, and I think we need to take advantage of that. The same with Christmas decorations. We don't need to pay somebody to do that. And when we have people in our community that can put up lights and a wreath on each of the signs. I
Well,
mean,
we used to organize.
Right, people used to do it all the time.
Do we utilize Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts? And I'm sorry, I know I'm interrupting.
No, you're fine.
But for like the flags, I mean.
Well, no, because again, it's a volunteer thing.
That's
so
it, yeah.
We don't utilize anybody yet, but we are working on it.
Get out there.
Yeah, I don't know that we would do kids for flags, so it would have to be an adult, but.
You can throw them pretty high.
But we're working on it. I know sometimes it seems like things take forever, and sometimes they do, because we have to go through, yeah, we're a government organization, we have to go through our attorneys, we have to go through insurance, we have, I mean, it's a lot, and sometimes we have to go back and forth with them.
Kate, you mentioned there's some folks in the neighborhood that do Christmas lighting, would you share their information with me, please?
Sure.
I'd be happy to reach out to them.
Yeah, I have to dig out their names.
Okay, I know one of the other things we had talked about, and this was Clayton and I talked about this, I know we did the monument lighting that we have through Gemstone and, or the hell the company is, that was ridiculously expensive.
Costco, you just buy them, they're so cheap.
Gobi. Clayton and I talked about it a couple of different times, I have them on my house.
Yeah, we do
They're
too.
inexpensive, they work really well, they're actually way better. No, it's their too. So that's something to.
Couple of options.
Oh, we can do all kinds of cool stuff, I mean, it'd be.
50 feet per
her monument. And
So,
it's
so
like,
we don't have to come to the back and forth for
Okay,
opening
yeah.
up this, like, we need to stick on track. Do we have any more?
There were two other things that I had written down. Somebody asked about an explanation on high costs when the budget goes out, and gave the example of the landscapers. I'm gonna go back to my earlier comment. Last meeting that we just had 2 weeks ago, there were 8 landscapers that bid for the RFP. 6 of them showed up and did presentations. All of that was documented in the agenda that's online, so you can go back and see, like, that's why the landscape budget was so high. The letter that Cardinal gave us when they resigned was out there. So I think it's a combination of, that's kind of the purpose of the meetings, is for the community to attend. There's a Zoom that you can attend. I understand that everybody can attend meetings. These are not the highlight of everybody's day. But I feel like from a transparency point, this board has been extremely transparent. There's nothing we're trying to hide. We absolutely will answer your questions. I try to post on Facebook as much as I can, even though our attorneys don't really love that. And so as far as the budget, like this year, I think the line item didn't get sent out, which we were talking to GMS about, but,
You got posted online.
it did.
Yeah, the budget's on there, but the thing is, if you sent out the full budget, you can't just send the line out without the
You
narrative
have
to
to
go
send
with it.
everything
That'd be
back.
12 pages times by 664 residents, that becomes a very expensive mailer.
Yeah.
So that's why we just
Posted online.
post it online and ask people to, we can send it via email blast, not a problem, but we
Yeah.
want to utilize the
Saving money.
Right, yeah, because if we did a mailer that cost thousands of dollars, I think we'd be screwed out for that.
$6 or $8 in one household times 664,
Basically, is what it is. Yep.
But ultimately, I mean, we want to be transparent. We want the community to understand why this budget looks the way it does. And part of that is done through meetings. All of this has been discussed through meetings. There's a couple of people that attend meetings on a regular basis. I don't think they were surprised by the increase, because they've been to the meetings and kind of understood. Like I said, our meeting minutes are out there as well for you to review. So I feel like the transparency is there. Some of this goes back to the community and kind of doing some due diligence. I created something because there were so many questions. I literally spent hours writing that and putting it on Facebook because that's where
That was really
that's
helpful.
where a lot of
Thank you.
people get their information. So I'm glad that was helpful. I was happy to do it. I just want the community to know that the resources are out there should you feel like you want to go out and get the information. It's always out there. There's absolutely nothing we're trying to hide.
Well, all of us are reachable too, outside of meetings, and obviously social media is not the right ways. We have to be very, very careful of commenting and not creating meeting, and there's people in this community that would hold this thing if we could. But, feel free to reach out to any 5 of us, I think all our information's out there, publicly or whatever, phone numbers, addresses, emails, all that kind of fun stuff too. Happy to answer questions. Somebody wants to meet in person, call one of us, text one of us. Meetings, please.
I think that was everything. Is there anything that someone asked that we didn't answer? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all
I
for
will
attending.
look for it. I don't have Facebook, and the comment was made to me, it's there. You've got to dig for it, though. It's not obvious.
Oh, on our website?
Yeah. So, and I'll do my due diligence, but again,
Okay.
you send the letter out, and that's the way,
No,
about anybody else, that's what got us here.
I agree
And
with
where's
that.
the information that goes with it? So,
Yeah,
I'll get there.
yeah. If
Thank
you
you.
need help, just let us know. I think it's pretty user friendly, but if you have issues, just let us know. We're happy to help.
Or don't have